The top stories tonight in Y News. The Food and Drug Administration said that a vaccine for COVID-19 may become available in the country in the first quarter of next year.
Metro Manila mayors have unanimously decided to prohibit minors from going outside and even entering shopping malls.
Philippine National Police stands by its position that no violation was committed in the arrest of peasant woman organizer Amanda Echanis. Around 3.8 million Filipinos are unemployed as of October this year, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority.
Singapore approves world's first lab-grown chicken meat.
And Australian COVID-19 patient with sepsis makes remarkable recovery following mega dose of vitamin C. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, December 3, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The Food and Drug Administration is hopeful COVID-19 vaccines may be available in the Philippines in the first quarter of next year, following President Rodrigo Duterte's executive order allowing the FDA to grant an emergency use of unregistered drugs for coronavirus. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
From 6 months, the Food and Drug Administration's approval for the use and distribution of COVID-19 vaccines can be shortened to 21 days. This after President Duterte issued an executive order allowing the FDA to grant an emergency use authorization or EUA to possible COVID-19 vaccines that will enter the country. FDA Director General Eric Domingo was even surprised on how fast EUAs of potential vaccines in other countries have been approved. This means, according to the official, that COVID-19 vaccine will be soon available.
Nagulat din tayo sa bilis po ng mga pangyayari. No? Ang in-expect po natin actually, ang UK or ang US magbibigay ng EUA end of the month pa, no? Mga December. Kaya ang in-expect ko po talaga ay mga January pa magkakaroon tayo ng applications dito sa Pilipinas. Pero mukhang talagang accelerated po lahat. Ang UK nagbigay na po ng EUA. Ang US FDA, ang balita po natin, ang tunog natin, within 1 to 2 weeks, magbibigay na rin po sila ng EUA sa ilang kumpanya.
Director Domingo adds that vaccines may be available in the country by the first quarter of 2021, as long as vaccine manufacturers will submit their requirements for the EUA application early for the process to run smoothly.
Kung mag-a-apply po sila sa atin within the month, then it's possible that we will be able to issue also the EUA within another 3 to 4 weeks, so sa January. So pag ganoon po, then maaari na po siguro mag-umpisa ang mga proseso ng pag-procure ng pamahalaan ng bakuna para po ba kapag makakuha sila ng allotment din at supply at maidala siya sa Pilipinas.
According to Domingo, they will authorize vaccines used for the public health program of DOH. The DOH will partake on deciding the schedule of the vaccination program. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte wants to roll out the COVID-19 mass vaccination program of the government earlier than the projected second quarter of 2021, according to Malacanang. Meanwhile, the palace stands firm that there will be no face-to-face classes in the country unless a vaccine is available. Rosalie Cons explains why.
The government is more hopeful for sooner availability of the COVID-19 vaccine in the country. This is the reaction of Malacanang after the United Kingdom approved the use of COVID-19 vaccine developed by Pfizer-BioNTech for emergency use.
Ito nabibigay pag-asa sa atin na baka matapos na itong ating delubyong pandemic na ito, no? Dahil talaga naman pong bakuna lang ang kasagutan dito. Dahil sa development ng ginawa na desisyon ng Inglaterra, may pag-asa po tayo subject to availability of vaccine na baka mamaya first quarter of the year pa lang makarating na sa atin ang mga bakuna.
Vaccine SAR and National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez said, based on their timeline, the rollout of the vaccination program will likely be in the second quarter of 2021. However, the realistic scenario will be at the end of next year. But according to Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque, President Duterte wants it earlier.
Narinig ko po personal ang presidente nagsabi, nako dapat mas maaga than second quarter.
Meanwhile, the palace stands firm that the resumption of face-to-face classes will be dependent on the decision of the president, and unless there is already a proven available vaccine, there will be no in-person learning at schools. This after some call for the resumption of face-to-face classes to areas with 0 cases of coronavirus.
Ang posisyon ng presidente habang walang bakuna, walang face-to-face. Pero ang alam ko, may mga proposals na magkaroon ng face-to-face lalo na sa mga medical schools, no? Dahil kinakailangan natin ng mga doktor sa panahon ng pandemya. Yan po ipag-aaralan. Pero kinakailangan si Presidente po ang mag-approve.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered a large-scale voluntary vaccination program against COVID-19 to begin next week across Russia, saying teachers and doctors should be first in line to get the country's flagship Sputnik V vaccine. Talking to his deputy prime minister, Putin gave the order during an online meeting with ministers on Wednesday, a day when Russia, which has the 4th highest number of recorded infections in the world, registered 589 new daily deaths from the coronavirus. Putin said Russia will have produced 2 million vaccine doses within the next few days. Sputnik V, one of 2 Russian-made vaccines to have received domestic regulatory approval, so far, despite clinical trials being incomplete, requires 2 injections. A 3rd vaccine is also in the works. Russia said last month that the Sputnik jab was 92% effective at protecting people from COVID-19, according to interim results. The Metro Manila Council allows 18 to 65-year-old individuals to go outside of residence for the month of December. Meanwhile, Metro mayors have agreed to still prohibit minors from going outdoors. Asher Cadapan Jr. tells us why.
Metropolitan Manila Development Authority General Manager Jojo Garcia announced today that the Metro Manila Council agrees to allow individuals aged 18 to 65 years old to go outside of their residence this month of December.
So unanimous po, no, 17-0, the mayors will not allow minors to go out. That's why yung ating GCQ guidelines na 80 to 65, yung pa din ang papayagan lumabas.
Garcia further clarifies that those beyond the age restriction may still go outside of their residence but only for essential activities. These include employment, medical checkup, primary needs, and physical exercise depending on the interpretation of respective local government units. But Garcia emphasized that minors strictly aged 17 years and below are prohibited to conduct non-essential activities outdoors based on the study of the Philippine Pediatric Society and Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines.
Nung tinanong namin ano ba ang definition ng minor, ang minor pala is 17 below. No? Meaning, kahit 17 years old ka, malakas katawan mo, malaki ka, pag nagkasakit ka, hindi ka sa regular doctor, sa pedia ka pa rin pupunta. So yung decision po ng ating NCR mayors, dahil GCQ pa naman ng NCR, na 18 to 65 ang allowed, hindi po yan hinugot sa kung saan, yung numero na yan, may basis po yan.
According to Garcia, Minors with age ranging from 15 to 17 years old are usually asymptomatic if they contract COVID-19. These carriers pose a big threat to others, especially while their population is as much as 2 to 3 million across Metro Manila. The LGUs are tasked to implement the policy and the corresponding penalties against violators. Malacanang, on the other hand, finds no infractions in the mayor's decision with regard to the policy set by the Interagency Task Force on the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases.
So yung naging decision po ng Metro Manila Council na pagbawalan muna yung 18 and below, yan naman po ay sang-ayon din dun sa discretion na ibinigay ng IATF sa mga lokal na pamahalaan.
Meanwhile, Ayala Malls released a statement expressing their intent to cooperate with the Metro Manila mayors and other LGUs. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Local airlines are now bracing for the holiday passenger rush at the airports as the government continues to ease quarantine restrictions in the country. Meanwhile, the airline sector, which was hardly hit by the pandemic, is hoping to recover. Joe Anano will tell us why.
This holiday season, the local airlines are expecting people to travel to provinces as the country relaxes the quarantine restrictions. With this, the Philippine Airlines is looking forward for more people to travel this holiday season as the national government allows the entry of balikbayans with their foreign spouses and kids subject to some requirements beginning December 7.
Kami po ay hopeful na magkakaroon ng positive response in terms of travel this December because tuloy-tuloy ang pakikipag-ugnayan ng airline industry at ng Philippine government. Yung tinatagurian namin good news is the Balikbayan program. This is the easing of travel requirements for balikbayan to entice them to return to the Philippines.
Although they are not expecting the same number of passengers last year for the same period this 2020, AirAsia on the other hand has increased their flights in order to accommodate the possible influx of passengers taking domestic flights this month.
Yung pag-increase natin ng flights natin from December 1 to 15 at December 16 to 30 or 31 ay in anticipation of the demand. Yung inaasahan natin na pag-uwi rin ng mga kababayan natin sa kanilang mga probinsya para makasama yung kanilang mga mahal sa buhay. Napakahalaga nito na ma-encourage din natin yung mga kababayan natin na bumiyahe para nang sa ganun, unti-unting makabangon yung airline industry.
Meanwhile, as the local airlines help passengers to comply with the local government units' requirements, they have partnered with private diagnostic laboratories conducting antigen or swab tests for the airline passengers, which is quite cheaper and results are being processed within a shorter period from 4 hours up to 24 hours. PAL and AirAsia are offering discount for passengers taking their RT-PCR test for only 4,000 pesos each, while Cebu Pacific has launched today their test before boarding policy, offering free antigen tests for passengers bound for General Santos City. This is in cooperation with the Jensen LGU, and the free antigen test will run until December 14.
This is an initiative where we work closely with the LGU in coming up with this process wherein passengers are required to take an antigen test no more than 5 hours before their departure time, and then the results will come out in 30 minutes.
On the other hand, the local airlines advises passengers to always check their website for the complete list of requirements of local government units of their chosen destination and complete the necessary documents to avoid delays and inconvenience. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines saw another 1,061 new coronavirus disease cases today, raising the nationwide caseload to 435,413. Most of the new cases were recorded in Davao City and Quezon City, both with 92 more infections. Rizal with 50, Pampanga 44, and Quezon Province with 43. The DOH also confirmed 328 new recoveries, while 10 more died. These raised the total number of recoveries to 399,325, and the death toll to 8,446. Meanwhile, an additional 235 COVID-19 beds have been allocated in Cagayan, Calabarzon, Davao, and the National Capital Region, or NCR, in an effort to further augment the health system capacity for COVID-19 response in regions with the highest number of cases in the country.
And for those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, stands by its position that nothing is illegal in the operation that led to the arrest of peasant woman organizer Amanda Echanis. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
The PNP leadership defended the personnel in the operation that resulted to the arrest of Amanda Echanis, alias Waya and Julian, in Barangay Karupian, Bagao, Cagayan, past 8 in the evening of December 2. Pro 2 Director Police Brigadier General Crizaldo Nieves insisted that the operation was legal as they served the search warrant dated November 27, issued by Judge Sheila Gakutan Labugen of the Bagao Municipal Trial Court.
Pag nag-issue kasi ang court, meron siyang nakalagay doon na the warrant can be served anytime of the day or night.
The search yielded an M16 Aris Colt 5.56mm assault rifle with serial number 4951346, a long plastic magazine for an M16 rifle, a long steel magazine for M16 rifle, 20 pieces of live ammunition for M16 rifle, and 2 hand grenades. Nieves added Amanda and her newborn baby were treated fairly by the PNP operatives, and she was not handcuffed nor brought to a police car going to the police station.
Normally, pag mga criminal, isasakay mo sa pasulta, di ba? Nakaposas. Siya, hindi naman nata siya pinosas, dala niyo data, ba't siya ipoposas, di ba?
Physicians were also available to check Amanda's health situation.
Okay naman daw mga normal na signs ng BPN, so tapos nagpapakanda ka ng postpartum assessment ba? Pero ayaw naman niya magpadala sa hospital. Hindi pa rin yung lawyer niya.
The regional director of Cagayan also challenged the militant groups to produce an evidence on their claims that the firearms and explosive found in Echanis' house were all planted.
So they just have to prove that, contest that in the proper forum.
In an interview, PNP Chief Police General De Bolsinas insisted that Amanda is a part of underground movement because her husband is an NPA leader operating in Cagayan Valley. Amanda is said to be a finance officer of NPA or West Front Kumiteng Probinsya ng Cagayan that are operating in the region. She is now facing charges for a violation of Republic Act 10591 or illegal possession of firearms and ammunitions and RA 9516 or illegal possession of explosives. Amanda is the daughter of the slain NDFP consultant Randall Echanis last August in Novaliches, Quezon City. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, presidential spokesman Harry Roque called on the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, to make sure that Amanda Echanis and her newborn son will not suffer the same fate as detained activist Reyna Nasino, whose 3-month-old daughter died after they were separated due to lack of jail facilities. According to Roque, an arrest cannot be avoided even if there is a newborn child involved, but the government is undertaking steps to make sure that the child is in good condition.
I'm calling upon the DSWD to take steps to ensure that the welfare of the child will be protected. Hindi po kasi dahilan yun na palibasa may anak ka, hindi ka makukulong at hindi ka masasubject sa proseso. But it is always the rule that government will take steps for the best interest of the child.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, said it will not recommend to President Rodrigo Duterte a ceasefire with communist rebels this holiday season. In a statement, AFP spokesperson Major General Edgar Arevalo said that many times in the past, the Communist Party of the Philippines, or CPP, and its armed wing, the New People's Army, or NPA, have shown its incapacity for sincerity. as they allegedly continue with their hostile acts despite the ceasefire declaration, Arevalos said. The military official said the communist rebels only venture on peace talks to give themselves the chance to regroup, refurbish, recruit new members, and recoup their losses. Meanwhile, according to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, although President Duterte has yet to decide on the matter, he gives a lot of weight to the recommendations of the AFP.
Ang ma-assure ko sa inyo, yung mga ganyang rekomendasyon ng AFP, the President gives it a lot of weight. So pakikinggan po yan, but ultimately it's only the President who will decide.
The House of Representatives approved on third and final reading a measure raising the age of statutory rape from the current 12 years old to 16 years old. The measure seeks to broaden the definition of rape to include certain acts of perversion not included in the 23-year-old law. Ray Pelayo explains why.
The bill that raises the age of statutory rape victims from 12 to 16 was approved on third and final reading by the House of Representatives with 207 voting in the affirmative and 3 against. House Bill 7836 amends the Republic Act 7610 or the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation and Discrimination Act. Agusan del Norte 1st District Representative Lawrence Fortun, one of the sponsor of the bill, said victim may also be a male.
Batay kasi sa mga pag-aaral ng mga dalubhasa, sabi nila hindi pa sapat ang kahandaan, no, mentally and psychologically ng below 16 years of age para magbigay ng intelligent consent sa isang sexual activity. Mababae man siya o malalaki.
The lawmaker said that with this bill, it is considered statutory rape if a person aged 16 years old and above had a sexual relationship with someone below 16 years old.
Kahit may consent po, kahit may pagpayag, kahit na girlfriend mo yan, merong, if you have consensual sex with him or her, statutory rape yan.
But according to Fortune, an exemption is also granted if the relations started when both are below 16 years old.
Doon sa ating batas, meron tayong sweetheart clause na pagka 4 years ang difference, no, at they are in relationship naman, no, non-exploitative, non-abusive relationship, exempt yun. Exempt yun. Pero pag lagpas na sa 4 years yung difference, statutory rape na po yun.
Grooming is included as a means of committing rape. The act of grooming is defined as a predatory act or pattern of acts aimed at establishing a relationship with a minor so they can manipulate, exploit, and abuse them. Fortune noted that the bill is timely because of the increasing cases of rape and abuse to women during the pandemic as reported to them by the DSWD.
Minsan kapamilya nila o kapitbahay nila, uncle nila, o people that they trust. Siguro dahil sa panahon ngayon, lahat ng tao ay nasa mga bahay nila, nasa communities, no? So, nagkakasama-kasama lahat sa isang bubong, no, sa isang community, and mas lalong tumataas yung vulnerability, no, ng ating children and women.
The bill also prohibits amicable settlement and filing of affidavit of desistance. Aside from the guardian, arresting office and person in authority may also file the case and may progress even if the victim refused to continue his or her participation. Whoever has the information about the incident should report the same within 48 hours. Court proceedings and information about the case shall not be disclosed. Penalty for statutory rape is life imprisonment. Convicted persons will not qualify for the benefit of good conduct and time allowance or GCTA when the victim is under 18 years old and the offender is a parent, ascendant, step-parent, or guardian. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
As As the country gradually reopens its economy, the number of jobless Filipinos has decreased, according to the Philippine Statistics Authority. Based on its October 2020 labor force survey, 3.8 million Filipinos aged 15 and up were unemployed as of October, which translates to 8.7% unemployment rate. This was lower compared to 4.6 million recorded in July and 7.2 million in April. The National Capital Region got the highest unemployment rate with 12.4%, while the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM recorded the lowest with 3.4%. The industries that experienced the largest drop in employment include arts, entertainment and recreation, accommodation and food service, real estate, transportation, and manufacturing services.
As we observe, of course, ang mga nakikita naming rason dito ay yung lack of transportation. Ito pa rin yung mga nakikita natin ever since na nagkaroon tayo ng parang lockdown mula April.
Meanwhile, the number of employed Filipinos in October was at almost 40 million. This was lower compared to the number of employed Filipinos in July, but higher than what was recorded in April. Industries with increased employment include waterworks, fishing and aquaculture, education, information and communication, support service, and human health and social work activities. Meanwhile, the number of unemployed Filipinos was at 5.7 million as of October. The PSA says the labor force participation decreased to 43.6 million due to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The next labor force survey will be conducted in January. The PSA hopes that the downward trend in the unemployment numbers will continue. In other news, Senator Manny Pacquiao is the new national president of President Duterte's political party, Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP Laban. He replaced Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel, who is now the executive vice chairman. House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco also took his oath as the party's executive vice president, replacing Pampanga Representative Aurelio Gonzalez Jr. According to Pimentel, he passed on the practical day-to-day leadership of the PDP Laban to the one who has the time, energy, and boldness to prepare the party for the 2022 national and local elections. In a statement, Senator Pacquiao said he will strengthen and lead the administration's party in the government's fight against corruption. He adds the party members must lead by example by shunning all forms of corruption, noting that he hates corrupt officials and government workers. The senator has yet to comment whether he has plans to run for presidency.
For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
A new study of the efficacy of virgin coconut oil against COVID-19 shows that it could be used as a supplement to probable and suspect cases of COVID-19. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Two groups were observed by the Department of Science and Technology on the use of virgin coconut oil or VCO on 58 suspect and probable cases of COVID-19 at a quarantine facility and hospital in Santa Rosa, Laguna. One group was given meals with VCO in it, while the other group received the same food without VCO. It shows that patients who were given the meals with VCO showed decreasing signs and symptoms of COVID-19 like cough, colds, fever, and loss of taste.
Symptoms in the VCO group significantly declined at day 2, and no more symptoms were observed at day 18. Compare this to the control group that showed improvement at day 3 and no symptoms only at day 23.
The DOST clarifies that VCO cannot be considered as treatment but only a supplement. According to experts, the components found in VCO help the individual to cope with the virus symptoms.
VCO is actually a functional. It is an adjunct supplement para po ito ay maisan ang
The DOST advises the public that they can consume 2 to 3 tablespoons of VCO daily as a supplement. On the other hand, experts have to further study the effects of VCO on COVID-19 patients with high viral load.
More studies are needed to determine the effectiveness of VCO as adjunct therapy for COVID-19, particularly with comorbidities.
The Philippine General Hospital has a separate study on VCO's effects on COVID-19 patients with mild and moderate symptoms. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte is set to participate in the 31st special session of the United Nations General Assembly on the novel coronavirus disease pandemic from December 3 to 4. The palace said Duterte is expected to deliver the Philippine statement today, where he will further amplify his call for global solidarity in addressing the challenges posed by the COVID-19. The president is also expected to raise universal access to the anti-COVID-19 technologies, as well as the need for global efforts to ensure the availability of safe and effective vaccines to peoples of developing nations. During the 75th UNGA session last September, Duterte also said that COVID-19 vaccines must not be denied nor withheld, and that it should be made available to all rich and poor nations alike as a matter of policy.
Meanwhile, despite the price freeze imposed in Luzon, in light of the impact of recent typhoons, the prices of some vegetables in wet markets have exceeded the suggested retail price. Dante Amento tells us why.
The recent typhoons have significant effect in the prices of agricultural products in different public markets in Metro Manila. Prices of some vegetables go beyond the suggested retail price issued by the Department of Agriculture. Laban Consumer President Attorney Vic Di Magiba says this is a violation of the current price freeze being implemented since November 18 until January of 2021.
Ang gagawin po namin sa susunod na weekend, yung aming volunteer ay iikot ulit at titignan po natin kung ang mga presyo ay nag-behave na sumusunod na o lumalapit na sa itinakdang price freeze ng Department of Agriculture.
In Balintawak Public Market, cabbage is now 120 pesos per kilo from 50 pesos. Chili pepper from 140 per kilo is now 600 pesos. White potato from 40 pesos per kilo increases to 60 pesos, as well as the carrots, radish, among others. Department of Agriculture Assistant Secretary Christine Evangelista, on the other hand, says it is inevitable for now that other vegetables prices will increase because some of them are from the areas devastated by the typhoon in Region 2. ASEC Evangelista adds they have been monitoring the everyday prices of vegetables in the market, but the DA has reminded vendors that the price freeze in Luzon is still in effect and violation thereof will be sanctioned under the Price Act.
We'd like to remind everybody na under the Price Act, meron pong parusa pag hindi kayo sumunod, no, lalo na ngayong price freeze, and we're looking at from 5,000 to 2 million pesos.
Meanwhile, Evangelista noted that the suggested retail price of poultry and livestock products are followed in the markets. Dante Amento, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, here's Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia.
Good evening, William. Leading Hong Kong protester Joshua Wong was jailed alongside 2 other young activists yesterday for taking part in last year's huge democracy protests as the crackdown on Beijing's critics intensifies. Marvi Delphine will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi, good evening.
Marielle, 24-year-old Joshua Wong, one of Hong Kong's most prominent pro-democracy activists, has been sentenced yesterday by the West Kowloon Magistrates Court to 13.5 months in prison for his role in mass anti-government protests last year. This comes after Wong pleaded guilty to organizing and inciting an unauthorized assembly outside the city's police headquarters during the height of the demonstrations in June 2019. COVID-19. Fellow activist Agnes Chow, 23, was sentenced to 10 months, with Ivan Lam, 26, was sentenced to 7 months for charges linked to the same protest. The three are among the more than 10,000 people who have been arrested since then on charges related to the protest against the now withdrawn extradition bill that would have expanded to include demands for greater democracy. So far, this has been the toughest and most high-profile sentence for opposition figures this year. The judge, Wong Zilai, took the previous records of Wong and Lam into account and said jail time was the only appropriate option in order to deter others. A message posted to Joshua Wong's Twitter account shortly after the sentencing said it was not the end of the fight. Reacting to the court ruling, Britain's Foreign Minister Dominic Raab issued a statement saying prosecutions must be fair and impartial and the rights and freedoms of Hong Kong citizens upheld. He also urged Beijing and Hong Kong authorities to stop their efforts to suppress the opposition, while other international observers have also condemned the sentences, with human rights group Amnesty International saying the three must be released immediately and unconditionally. Amnesty International's regional director for the Asia Pacific, Yamini Mishra, added that the jailing of the trio was aimed at sending a message to current and potential Hong Kong dissidents. Marielle?
All right, thank you for that live report, Marvy. Ivanka Trump, the president's daughter and advisor, was questioned under oath this week as part of a civil lawsuit alleging misuse of nonprofit funds for Donald Trump's inauguration 4 years ago. Sonny Cos will tell us why.
Ivanka Trump, the president's eldest daughter and White House senior advisor, sat for a deposition with the Washington, D.C. Attorney General's office. Trump was deposed for the ongoing investigation into her father's 2017 inaugural committee, where the D.C. Attorney General has been looking into whether the president has violated the emoluments clause or profited from the presidency. Trump's eldest daughter was among a list of others who have sat for a deposition with the Attorney General, including Tom Barrack, the chair of his inauguration. The District of Columbia's Attorney General Carl Resin alleges Trump's inaugural committee spent more than $1 million to book a ballroom at the Trump International Hotel in the nation's capital as part of a scheme to grossly overpay for a party space and enrich the president's own family in the process. In a statement, Alan Garten with the Trump Organization said that Ms. Trump's only involvement was connecting the parties and instructing the hotel to charge a fair market rate, which the hotel did. Meanwhile, few weeks before her father is set to leave the White House, a string of Ivanka Trump not wanted posters appeared across Manhattan in New York, her former hometown, signaling that she and her family should not expect a warm welcome from the city. Sonicos, UNTV News and Rescue, USA. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Singapore has given regulatory approval for the world's first clean meat that does not come from slaughtered animals. The decision paves the way for San Francisco-based startup Eat Just to sell lab-grown chicken meat. The meat will initially be used in nuggets, but the company hasn't said when they will become available. It had just said it would sell lab-grown chicken nuggets at $50 each, still as expensive as premium chicken. Demand for alternatives to regular meat has surged due to consumer concerns about health, animal welfare, and the environment. According to Barclays, the market for meat alternatives could be worth $140 billion within the next decade. Meanwhile, an Australian man who was critically ill with COVID-19 made a remarkable recovery through vitamin C. Early Briones will tell us why live. Yes, Early, go ahead.
Marielle, a 40-year-old man who was critically ill with COVID-19 and suffering early stages of sepsis, made a remarkable recovery after being given massive doses of vitamin C. Professor Rinaldo Belomo, Director of Intensive Care at Melbourne's Austin Health, said the man's health started to deteriorate significantly with COVID-19, losing kidney function with blood pressure plummeting. Professor Belomo knew researchers had some promising experimental findings using megadose of vitamin C to treat sepsis. So with the family's consent, doctors gave the patient the same treatment, and the man was given an initial dose of 30 grams of sodium ascorbate over 30 minutes, then a maintenance dose of 30 grams over 6.5 hours. An over-the-counter vitamin C supplement is 500 milligrams, meaning this megadose was 60 times the normal dosage and had to be administered under hospital conditions. Professor Belomo said after the patient had the megadose of vitamin C, the changes were remarkable. In a short period of time, his blood pressure and kidney function significantly improved. The patient was taken off the machine ventilation 12 days after he was treated with a vitamin C massive doses and was able to walk out of the hospital. Doctors at Melbourne's Austin Health have now begun a randomized controlled trial giving some patients with septic shock a megadose of vitamin C and some placebo. Blood samples will be collected to gauge the patient's immune response. Marielle?
Thank you for that report, early live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news here in Australia and in other parts of the globe. For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Maria Latosa, reporting live from Perth, Australia.
And those are the reasons behind the news, December 3, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.